Good morning, fellow traders. Today is Thursday, the last day of July 31st. Time to do our daily trade plan today. Kind of recap from yesterday. Wow, what an overnight. I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised. This market does not cease to amaze. Yesterday, obviously, looking at the NASDAQ chart here, I've had this trend line on my charts for quite some time, just this channel, I should say, this trend channel, and we are just in that channel, and we bounce off the highs and lows almost, not really the highs, but just keep bouncing off these lows and ripping to new highs on a regular basis. Looking at yesterday, we had the New York session high actually was here around the 23,560 or 590s. The New York session low was down here around these lows coming in from last week around the 23,350s. And then we had earnings last night, and I don't know, I didn't pay that much attention into who was releasing earnings. I know there were several big players yesterday, but obviously earnings went crazy. And then the market reopened again at 6 p.m. and that was the low from there. Really at the previous all-time high is where that market ended up. Actually, that's where we closed. And then we have ripped ever since then. So crazy move. Once again, new all-time highs. This market is up to about, let me just double check and make sure I got my numbers correct here, but 23,844 is where we are at. And if you look at the daily chart, this is a little bit hard to see because of all my lines I've got in here, but here in April, we were at 16,662. 16,662, and we are now approaching 24,000. Is that not crazy? Oh, wow. What a wild market. Anyway, so what are we looking at today? I think for me on the NASDAQ, I am actually short the NASDAQ and the ES right now with eval accounts. I do think we're going to see a pullback down into this area. And on the ES, I think we're going to see a pullback potentially down to the high of day from yesterday. So that's really what I'm looking for this morning. I'm not on the funded accounts. I'm not 100% sure that I'll be looking to trade shorts unless we just simply, sit around here until the open and we do get a flush. Maybe we get a test of the highs and then we flush down. That may be a trade I would take with the funded accounts. But I think the bigger picture really is, again, we're in the pullback long. We're looking for, break, retest the all-time high from the previous all-time high and look for a long off of that. Or we come down and we retest the prior day. I've had really good success with prior day high, prior day lows on both the short and the long setup. So if we get a pullback to this level, break and retest of the prior day highs, we would break it, retest it, go long. Those are the trades I'm looking for. I really think that's the mindset unless we lose some of these major areas. What are those major areas? The one that's really starting to form is this 23,350 area. Really, you could call it from the 23,370 to the 23,340s, but really this range needs to hold. If we break below that range, then we look for shorts, probably down into these areas here around the 23,220s and down further. This is the major one right here. This area right here around the 23,000, 23,100, I should say, maybe 2380s. This one, let's see if I got enough of it on my chart here. This is kind of this previous resistance area turned to support, and we've kind of created new support. Just a very, very bullish trend to the upside, which is kind of crazy that I'm sitting short on evals, but I do think we'll see a little close here, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's not a big deal. But if we start to lose this, I think we really look for shorts into some of these major levels, possibly all the way down here to the 22,800s. If that's the case, you just have to look for these next levels of where this market pulls back to. And as crazy as it sounds, even a move all the way down here into this area is really still considered, big picture, is considered a bullish play on the market because we have had such an expansion that you would think at some point you're going to get a pullback and continue to reload. That would probably be the move that we'd be looking for. If we do get a complete tumble and we fall way down below here, now you're going to see some major market correction before we get further upside again. But in the today, really looking again, the pullback longs are really in play. I think that's where this market is that as long as this thing stays hot, we look for pullback longs and look for these opportunities to take that. Yes, very similar picture. Very, very similar picture. I did bold this line right here. This is where we dropped to yesterday. Actually, the low of day yesterday was right around the 2366s, just below, kind of wick below this area here. But this is that previous high that we had that we've been looking for. We did get a pullback to that. Kind of created this head and shoulders pullback, but then we pushed back out of it. And obviously, earnings and everything that happened yesterday afternoon pushed this market higher. We are pulling back, and it looks like we're getting a little bit of a break and retest opportunity short, which is why I'm short on evals off this previous all-time high that we had set here a couple of days ago. So I think, again, the big picture here on the ES is look for pullback longs here to the high of day from yesterday, the New York session high, and possibly this range at the 6420s, 6417s. I really want us to hold, really, I'm looking to hold this area. I really want us to hold this area, basically the low of day from yesterday. So if we get anything pullback longs in any of these areas, that's something we look to do. If we retest the high and we fail, we could see a short opportunity, but again, this thing could break out, break and retest long above the all-time highs. This market is definitely very strong, and that's something to keep an eye on as well. Moving to the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones and the Russell are a little bit different. So I had to zoom out on the 60-minute chart just to get a better picture of where we're at. So Dow Jones, we were, the previous high area was here, recent high, not all-time highs, but recent highs, and then we've really expanded out of that range. And if you look at this in a big picture perspective, really for the month of July, we have kind of went, really end of June, early July, we've really kind of went sideways. We've really been pretty sideways. And we've lost, we're more bearish than bullish, at least on the last couple days here, than what we have been. So it's definitely not as strong as what we have seen on the NASDAQ and on the ES. So this big area that I've been looking at, the 44,800s, this was something, an area I've been watching for quite some time here. It looks like we may be looking at break and retest short opportunities. I mean, here we had these highs, break, retest short, break, retest short yesterday. Now we're up here, break, retest, possible break, retest short again. So if you take away the CPI high print, there's really no levels between the 800s and all the way down here to the 44,500s. This is just a sideways noise. So that is definitely something to look for possibly on the Dow Jones, is do we get a break and retest short? And I think that lines up as well with, do we get a break and retest short of the all-time highs on the ES, and do we get that on the NASDAQ? I mean, that is a potential play. And I think, though, that's something that could set up. And again, this market, the Dow Jones, could go down even if the NASDAQ and the ES continue to trend higher. So it's just something to keep in mind. Maybe we just chop around here, push higher, and get a break and retest, and we push back to the higher levels. So it's really an eyes wide open kind of thing. I'm not as crazy for this sideways action that we're seeing on the Dow Jones, but it is what it is. Russell, very similar, very, very similar. Also had to move out to the 60-minute chart. Notice this major level to 2207. If this breaks, I think we really see downside on the Russell. But obviously yesterday, small caps did not do as well. Small caps definitely did not do as well. We had the major sell-off, and the earnings didn't do that much, and we have really lost that. So definitely are falling to the downside on the Russell. And if you look at this over the last several days here, we had the highs, you break and retest short, break and retest short, another really break and retest of this level. Here's the break, here's the retest, and we're looking short. Do we see another break and retest short? We are shorting into that daily 200 moving average, which is kind of a big one, and we're really looking at this level around the 2206s. So definitely an interesting play. Not saying we won't rebound and go back higher. We very well could. But in the moment right now, it looks like we're going to see a little bit of downtrend on the Russell and on the Dow Jones potentially. This market may prove me totally wrong, and that's quite okay. Likewise on the Russell, if you look at the CPI high and low, or the PPI prints here, if you take that away, there's really nothing here until we get to the 2205s, 2207s. So there is a short potential. There is a short potential. If we see some kind of short-term downside coming in on the ES and on the NASDAQ, that definitely could set up some plays that would give us a favorable move to the downside on the Russell as well. So as a whole, I'm still looking for pullback longs. Obviously, you know, we're really focused on the NASDAQ, we're focused on the ES, but I do take trades on the Dow Jones and on the Russell as they set up. So we'll keep our eyes open and we'll see what the market gives us today, and hopefully we can end the month of July on a green note. So added a few more funded accounts past that Apex account yesterday. So we got 2 Apex accounts. I bought a couple more Tradeifys. I have 1 more Tradeify eval that's getting close to being passed and getting another funded account. And then I would have the full 5 accounts, which is the max you can have with Tradeify. So I'm definitely excited about that. And then hopefully build back up my Apex accounts as well. So just got to keep the head on straight and take good trades, and hopefully continue to move the needle. So have a good day today. Oh, I should have looked at, well, what do we have for news? I think we have some news today as well. Thursday, yes, this morning at 8:30, we do have core PCE, and we have unemployment cost index. We have unemployment claims. That happens at 8:30. Those are red folder events, and that could give us a little bit of a move. I don't think it's going to be a major move, but it would potentially give us a little bit of a move. That could push this thing down to this area, push it, the NASDAQ up to the highs, and likewise on the ES, we could see enough to move this thing a little bit to where we set up some of these earlier trades that we talked about. So something to keep in mind this morning, 8:30 news, and then nothing else for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow morning, we also have news at 8:30 and news at 10. So there we have it. That's today. So good luck, trade well, take care, and I'll catch up with you on the next one. So long.